Wow, I'm pleased to meet you, and I'm so curious about Kaltura. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Kaltura.
Kaltura. Okay, where did the name come from?
We started this company about almost 8 years ago, and we wanted to have a name that was universal, that resonated with the word culture, but that didn't have any meaning where we can own the domains around it. And Kaltura was the name we chose. We bought all the domains around it. .net, .com, .tv with a C, with a K. So Kaltura is kind of the brand.
Interesting. And how many co-founders did Kaltura have?
We are 4 co-founders.
4 co-founders.
For the company.
Any of them was like an investor in the company?
We all invested in the company initially. We all came from other startups. We all were serial entrepreneurs that sold companies before.
Can you mention one of?
Sure. So we
was
have
interesting.
So Ron Yekutiel, our CEO, and myself, we had a GPS navigation company called Destinator. We merged that up with a public company. Michal Tzur, our co-founder or chief marketing officer, had a previous company called Sayora. That was an internet banking security application, so that to RSA Security, which subsequently sold to EMC. And around that time, our CTO was a co-founder of ICQ. He sold that company to AOL back in the day.
Did he create that nice?
Yeah, so
that's pretty famous in this.
Exactly. So no, Eran was a VP of R&D at ICQ and later a VP at AOL after they sold it.
That's interesting. And did you create all these companies? You guys created all these companies based in Israel?
We all of these companies had the same model that Kaltura has, which is R&D in Israel and headquarters and operations and sales globally.
Why is that?
Because Israel has one thing going for it, which is a lot of talent. There's a really great talent in Israel, but it has one thing which is missing, which is the market. Israel is only 6 million people, so it's like one neighborhood in Sao Paulo. There's no big market in Israel. It's a great country to run in beta, and it has a lot of innovation in computer and tech and ICT and telecom and very high penetration of mobile, but you couldn't grow a very large business in Israel. It's just not enough people.
Some people say things you learn to become a good professional sometimes come from lessons from the market. So if you don't have a good market, how can you have a lot of good talent?
Well, I think a lot of people go back and forth. You know, the founders of Kaltura are all good examples of either our parents worked for American companies or for the government. We all went back and forth as kids. So like JC, which we're going to talk to in a second. I grew up in Silicon Valley. Ron grew up in Silicon Valley. Michal was born in Europe. So we all are always out and about, running around and in the market. And I think that some Israeli companies often suffer from that. They invest too much in the technology and they don't invest in sales, and later they discover that they have a technology looking for an application, not vice versa.
Okay, but you sure have like a lot of good universities in Israel, where you guys learn to be good technicians.
No, absolutely, and I think that a lot of it what started the Israeli tech boom is high quality education, so really good universities. A lot of technology that came out of the military, both military technology that found civilian applications, but more than that, it's military grade technicians and programmers and people that got their technical training in the military, where the military would train them and then they finish their duty and then they're out and about full of ideas and very young people that know how to execute really well. And then in the 80s, the government actually jump-started the VC industry. There was a kind of famous initiation with an American VC model where the government put the first monies in, and that attracted foreign investment, and after that the VC industry started. So there's a lively VC community. So the combination of a lot of talent and a lot of money created a lot of very interesting companies.
That's interesting. And well, in talent, maybe you could compare Israel to the Silicon Valley, in a way. Did you notice something different in Silicon Valley than
I think that the one thing that I think is really comparable is that there's no fear of failure and some say European countries. If you start something and it doesn't really go well, again, you see that in Europe, you definitely see that in Japan. Failure is catastrophe. You couldn't afford failing. In Israel, in much the same way as Silicon Valley, starting a company, giving your best try and failing is actually good credentials for you. It means that you're, in the next company, you're probably going to succeed more because you learned a valuable lesson. So no fear of failure. Again, part of it is because of kind of a lot of people serve in the military and they know that that's what you do. You know, you go and you conquer that hill until you succeed.
Okay.
So I think that is very similar. I think it's also a country where there is a lot of informal communication, not too much hierarchy like you would find in Asia, for example, or even in Europe. So in that sense, those are the ingredients. People are not afraid to fail, and they're not necessarily very hierarchical, so they go out and they try stuff. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
But yet, you picked New York
Right.
for Kaltura.
Right.
So why New York? Media business?
We think that New York is the media capital of the world, right? And for us, it was either New York or LA or San Francisco. In the US are the three countries where there's a combination of tech and media. A lot of our early wins were with media companies. Early business with Major League Baseball, and early business with Disney and some other large media, and they're all in New York. In New York, you can actually walk to their office from ours, so that was a natural choice for us. It was either that or LA, and we had a regional office in LA and headquarters in New York, which is more easy to communicate with Israel. There are multiple flights every day, and it's only 7-hour time difference.
Should we understand that Kaltura was designed to universities and education subjects mainly, or like any sort of content?
So when we started the company, we focused a lot on video collaboration, and we focused on the very basic media use cases. So if you have a group of people that want to collaborate in media, and you want to solve the basic problems of upload and storage and analytics and user engagement and monetization and a lot of stuff that is really geared towards media. But I think what's driving our business today is this notion that really every company is a media company. A university today uses video for every aspect of its business, just like any other large enterprise. From finding customers or students, to engaging them, to signing them up, to teaching and learning and training and customer service and alumni relation, and every aspect of modern campus life or enterprise life has video in it. So every company finds itself in the media business. If you believe, like I do, that media is about connecting content and audience, right? So if you don't have the content, you have to produce it. If you don't have the audience, you have to build it. And you need a lot of technology to make that connection. And it doesn't matter whether what you're trying to do is educate people or sell a product or entertain people. It's all falling back on the same fundamentals. Especially, we're using a phone to record this interview. The notion that the means of production are in the pockets of 1 billion people, and yet you need a whole stack of technology to make it easy for them to produce and consume, and to keep it secure, and to keep it viable as a business strategy for people that want to make money by selling their content. So it doesn't matter what the use case is, it all relies on a certain fundamental set of technologies. And I've come to think about a lot of what we do as recently as a video operating system, right? You have a set of fundamental technologies that are the platform, and you have a set of applications, just like in an operating system, riding on top of that. So in that sense, to go back to your question, there are specific aspects that are designed specifically for education, for enterprise, for media companies, for healthcare, for defense, domain-specific applications. But all of those different applications rely on a common infrastructure for security, entitlement, analytics, storage, delivery, publishing, and the rest of the components of the stack.
Am I wrong, or is it open source?
A lot of what we do is open source. Almost 100% of the code is available in open source. The only components that are not available is if we have a component that connects Kaltura to a proprietary connector. So for example, for our education business, we integrate with Blackboard, a popular learning management system. The connector that connects a closed system like Blackboard to Kaltura is going to be closed, but the rest of it is going to be open. It means that if we go on a sales meeting or a customer engagement and the customer says, oh, this is great, I just want an open source code and take it for free, doesn't pay us anything, that's perfectly legitimate, it's a good outcome for a business meeting. But it turns out that 9 out of 10 times people would rather license the code from us, get our support, get our hosting, and that's how we make money. So we either host the software for people and they pay us license fees for hosting the content, or sometimes they want to keep their own version, they want to take the open source, but they want our professional services and they want our support in running it, and then again they pay us an engagement fee to help them with the open source code. Sometimes people actually use the open source code and don't pay us anything. In a different conversation yesterday I mentioned a good example is in the UK, for example, those Manchester United and Liverpool soccer clubs both use Kaltura. Manchester United is on the paid version and Liverpool is on the open source version. And
does it tell something about them?
I think they're going to fight it. They're going to fight it out in the field and see who wins. But both of those are legitimate business outcomes.
It's interesting. And so, after all these years running the company, did everything go as planned, or did you have surprises?
I think the biggest surprise that we had since we started the company is the diversity of use cases that we have. Originally, all of our contracts were mostly with media companies. And then we started having other people contact us and say, oh, I really needed this. And we're like, why would you need a media management platform? And it was a big realization for us that this notion that really every company is a media company, that media is in the future and roadmap of any large human endeavor. It doesn't matter whether you're starting a gaming company or a university or a new hospital or anything where there's human communication, video is starting to take a significant part. And people ask me, who do we compete with? In some sense, Kaltura competes with Xerox, right? Because any sort of human interaction with paper or print today, that's coming into video. And
right.
in that sense, the rapidity in which the market is adopting video was very surprising to me. The adoption of iPads and tablets, and I didn't believe, for example, the iPads would grow so fast. But iPad is a primary mechanism for people to watch video. Right? People talk about the best screen available, and oftentimes your small screen, higher resolution, is the best screen available. So that was a big surprise to me, to see how rapidly this is being adopted in global markets around the world. And we always knew it was going to happen, but I thought it's going to take a longer period of time.
So it's both video and mobile, the path to the future.
I think so. You know, people in the investment community talk about social, local, and mobile, right? Solo-mo is kind of the moniker for that. It's about social technologies being blended with local technologies, being blended with mobile technology. And I think that the commonality among those three is that video can play a very significant part in all three aspects of that. If you're thinking about a social experience that's localized to you with your local environment and local language and is delivered on any device, video is a very significant aspect of that. Again, think about restaurant reviews, think about fixing gadgets and learning about how to replace an ink cartridge in your printer, and think about the differential equations 101 where you need help from somebody, or think about video bio recruiting tool for large enterprise, right? Very, very diverse use cases. All of them would rely on those three categories. All of them could benefit tremendously from video.
Well, nice. Thank you, and good luck ahead.
Thank you. Great to be here.